a shocker. Tinubu finally bows to pressure, makes powerful confession, see the shocking statement he made about coup in Africa. President Tinubu has confirmed his fears about the potential resurgence of military coups in Africa following the recent coup in Niger. Okay, he expressed his concern while addressing a delegation led by the Sultan of Sokoto, which was visiting from a neighboring country. Tinubu emphasized that it is completely unacceptable for a democratic government to be forcibly removed, and he warned that if Nigeria allows such actions to go unchallenged, everyone will suffer the consequences. Not really. So you are scared of being removed by the military because of how you became the president. That is what I think you should say. Okay, Tinubu's fear stems from the recent coup in Gabon, where the military overthrew President Ali Bongo and annulled the results of the recent election. The president believes that this development sets a dangerous precedent for African continent. Okay, so military coup sets a dangerous precedent, but rigging election and rigging yourself to power does not set a dangerous precedent. What hypocrisy. That is it. He expressed his concerns during a meeting with the Sultan of Sokoto at the presidential villa in Abuja. In response to the situation in Niger, Tinubu pledged to explore all diplomatic avenues to restore democracy in the country before considering military intervention as a result. Before you go and restore democracy in Niger or Gabon, you should restore democracy in Nigeria. Because what we have now is not democracy. Okay? Let's get it right. He stressed that the forceful removal of a democratic government is completely unacceptable and must be stopped. Tinubu acknowledged the importance of peaceful resolutions, stating that nobody is interested in a war. No, now, go to war and see how those people in Niger will flush ECOWAS soldiers like water. That is true. They are ready and they are more prepared, they are more organized. That is truth. So he referenced the devastation in Ukraine and Sudan as examples of the consequences that could befall the region if decisive action is not taken. In related news, President Tinubu's administration has suspended the National Career and Airport Concession Project. So, the suspension announced by Festus Keyamo, the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, comes after the projects were approved shortly before the end of the previous administration led by President Muhammadu Buhari. So what we are saying here is that Tinubu is scared. That is what I see here. The fear here is very, very obvious. Already, a lot of Nigerians are interested in the coup. If you look at what happened in Niger and Gabon, the citizens were happy with the coup because they were tired of the civilian government, which was year by year impoverishing the citizens beyond acceptable level. Okay, so now the fear is gripping Tinubu. Now this is a genuine fear, and this is a true confession. That is the way I see this. Okay, because like I said earlier, because of bad democratic leadership in African countries, the young ones are tired, the military is even tired, and that's why this coup is taking place. You don't just condemn coup, you should look at what is causing the coup. Why is the coup taking place? It's bad leadership, bad governance, okay? And then we have the kind of government or leaders that are used as puppets by the Western world to continue to exploit and loot the resources of the nations from Africa back to their Western countries. And all of that had to stop. Like in Niger, we are aware of the mining of uranium by French and the US, okay? In Gabon, we are aware of extraction of their oil and their manganese, and without having anything left back in the country for them. So it is bad, and the guys are saying enough is enough. So Tinubu is scared now because only just within a short space of time, it has happened between Niger and Gabon. And before then, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Guinea are under military rule. And more African citizens are calling for coup to remove all these democratic leaders that are worse than military dictators. Okay, how can somebody stay in office for 10, 20, 30 years, 40 years? Are you the only person in that country? And then as they're leaving, they are preparing to hand over to their own family line, either their sons or their daughters, or their in-laws or their brothers and sisters, or their cousins. How? That is how bad it is. And so what is happening here, two things, the coup is seeking to correct two things. The coup in those countries. One is perennial tenure elongation by African leaders, rigging of elections, and making in the government offices a family dynasty. That is one. Now, the second part of this issue that the military coup is trying to correct is the perennial influence by the slave masters, by the colonial masters. They say they've given you independence, but they continue to influence your government, continue to influence your way of doing things, and continue to exploit your resources and do capital and resource flight back to their countries. Okay, like we know, France cannot exist without exploiting the resources from francophone countries. The same thing happening in some other parts of Europe and the United Kingdom. They cannot survive without seeing those loots coming from those African countries. And because of that, they continue to influence the system of leadership so that they can continue to dominate them and to use them for this exploitation, which is very bad. And this is the second part of the issue that this military coup seeks to correct, both in Niger and in Gabon. And it's going to happen more, whether we like it or not. Again, Tinubu does not have this justification to condemn coup, because how did he come to power? That is one. Two, he has just expressed his genuine fear that there's every tendency that he himself will be taken from office, because he came to power fraudulently and cannot forever remain in power fraudulently. Okay, Nigerians are just waiting for the outcome of this presidential election before we know how things will pan out, because obviously this government is illegitimate. That is the truth. It's illegitimate, did not win election, used electoral violence, violated all the electoral laws in Nigeria, and these same people are talking about upholding rule of law. How? These are civilian dictators. They are worse than the military. And again, there's a saying that the worst democracy is better than the best military. But in this case, the reverse is the case. Okay? The worst military is better than the best democracy. It is getting terrible and unbearable. That is it. Okay. There are a few comments here coming from a few individuals. Okay. Somebody is saying Nigeria is next by the grace of God. If that is the only way God will use to deliver us from suffering. So do we really have a democratically elected president in Africa? We don't. All of them will rig election to get there. Someone said the way even the election thieves are talking about democracy and rule of law is very annoying. Imagine an armed robber accusing others of theft and robbery, lying in the round table, and no single truth from their mouth, no single agenda for the citizens. God, we are looking up unto you. That is it. However, have we ever realized that the outright rigging of election, that someone defeated the rigger, is worse than a military coup? Exactly. I laugh in Spanish. I don't even know what Nigerian army are waiting for. Let them quickly do the needful. We support them fully. If the democracy is practiced the way it should be, there should not be any fear. Reduce the poverty level of the citizens, yes. Provide basic amenities and share the wealth of the nation accordingly. Erase suffering from the faces of citizens. With the aforementioned, you will have the backing of the majority of the citizens. But they won't do that. They are beclouded by their selfish interests and sentiment. That is the problem. They will not do that. No food, no high school, no bid Nigeria. Can you imagine? Person where they do bad, but him they fear, make them no tell manner. Can you imagine? The fear is coming from the consciousness that you are not doing what you promised. So you are scared. Change what is being done and do it right. Democracy has been turned to an individual thing, not a right of the people anymore. God will help us. And that is it. So what is happening here is that Tinubu has just expressed a genuine fear that he might be the next person to be removed from power. So thank you for listening, and let's have a comment.